Well, today's our final day on noticing God in everything. And just to look back at some of what we've covered from Matthew chapter 13, I've been making the point of how Jesus notices God in the very ordinary, seemingly routine parts of daily life. He can look at a mustard plant or the image of a woman making bread, or how a news story about how, hey, did you hear about the guy who found a treasure, or a businessman, in this case, someone who's a merchant searching for fine pearls, or a fisherman casting their net into the sea. These are all very ordinary, routine parts of life, except maybe finding the treasure. But it did happen in those times because they didn't have banks. And Jesus uses all of these to point his listeners to the kingdom of heaven and what it's like. And then in verse 51, he says, "Have you understood all this?" They answered, "Yes." Now let's be honest. Do you think everyone in the crowd and the disciples really understood everything Jesus was saying? I think all of us have been in a position in a class or a course at some point in our life where a teacher poured over some content and then said, "Do you understand this? Does anyone have any questions?" And you just sat there like, "Well, I don't understand it all, but I'm not going to be the one to say I don't get it." So maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my hunch that maybe they didn't fully comprehend it. And then our verse of the day is verse 52, where Jesus says after that, "And he said to them, therefore, every scribe who has been trained for the kingdom of heaven is like the master of a household who brings out of his treasure what is new and what is old." I want to touch on three things in that verse very quickly. First of all, the use of the word. Jesus uses the word like a scribe trained for the kingdom of heaven. You've heard me say before, but I think it always bears repeating, that grace is opposed to earning, but not to effort. We don't earn God's grace, but effort is required to be trained and to mature as a disciple and a follower of Jesus. And so Jesus uses that word. Therefore, every scribe who has been trained for the kingdom of heaven. We need to train, discipline ourselves. It's like a master of a household who brings out of his treasure what is new and what is old. One of the things I had hoped to do on my sabbatical that I didn't do as much as I had desired was to do some organizing work at our home. But we have gotten a start, and we're working at it, Jill and I. And one of the things you do when you organize or go through your things, right, is you find old things that you want to keep and hold on to and still value. You have new things that you're glad to have a part of your home, but you also have to let go of some things to make room for the new things you're getting. And it's very similar in our spiritual life. There are certain old things that we treasure and value and want to hold on to as disciples of Jesus. But we also have to always be open to the new things that God may be doing in us spiritually, how God continues to want to form you and shape you into the image and likeness of Christ, will always mean there are parts of you in terms of your thinking, your attitudes, your behavior, your patterns of speech and relating that you have to let go of. In many ways, the Christian spiritual life is a lifelong process of both accepting new things and relinquishing some things. I hope this week has been helpful for you, and I pray that you will have your eyes open and your ears open to noticing God in everything today and in the days to come.